I'm here with Dr. Ike Reighard, CEO of MUST Ministries and Chief Inspirational Officer at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Ike, first off, thank you for doing this for talking with me.
I'm honored.
I really appreciate it. I know you're very, very busy. You've had a very busy day today.
It seems like every day is busy at MUST, but I tell you what, Your Home Sold Guaranteed, fantastic partnership. Today, you guys were rallying here and having kind of your Thanksgiving meal, and also coming in today and bringing so many toys for the MUST Toy Store, which last year, Kelly, took care of over 4,300 children.
Wow.
And so to think you're a part of that, and you're going to make for some great Christmas mornings, and a lot of your folks come out and volunteer as well. And so volunteering, financially supporting, buying presents, all of those things go together to be able to make Christmas merry and bright for a lot of families.
Well, I was really impressed at the number of toys that were out there. I mean, your whole hallway was just covered up in toys. It was like, Christmas blew up out there.
It's absolutely incredible.
So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. What does MUST Ministries mean?
MUST Ministries actually started out of an acronym, and it stood for Methodist United in Serving and Training, and that was 48 years ago. And then about 30 years ago, there was a move that took place, and MUST became its own standalone 501c3. It was no longer under the umbrella of the Methodist Church. And then they changed the acronym to Ministries United in Serving and Training. And so there's a faith-based component to so much of what MUST has done through the years. And our mission is really simple. It's to serve our neighbors in need. And we do not discriminate when it comes to who our neighbors are. Whatever lifestyle they may have chosen, whatever situation they might be in, when we see people that are having a difficult time, battling with poverty, living in kind of the margins of life, we want to be able to be there for them, and we want to be able to make a difference for them.
Thank you. And so we just talked about the mission here at MUST Ministries. One of the other things, you're the Chief Inspirational Officer at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. What's that mean, and how'd that come about?
That means I'm better looking than Todd Walters. That's what that means. That was so, thank you for throwing me that softball. Absolutely.
Sorry, Todd, I didn't mean that.
Well, Chief Inspiration Officer, first, I'm so humbled that Todd would give me that opportunity, because I've known Todd ever since he was a teenager. And sometimes you see people that just have this extra gear. There's something unique about them. Todd was always one of those people. And then I got to know him as a professional. And then when he asked me would I consider coming on and fulfilling a role like this, it's wonderful. So as Chief Inspiration Officer, I'm there to help breathe life into the dreams and the desires of the people that make up Your Home Sold Guaranteed. I also get the unique privilege of getting to walk alongside Todd and to be for him a coach. I think it's probably the way that he would put it, or a mentor. And there's enough of an age difference there between us that feels really comfortable. And so I get to play that role for Todd, get to play a role for the entire company, and then to be able to do things for people individually in the company. Because sometimes people are going through some struggles in their life. And if I can sit down over a telephone call or a meeting and be able to help them, then that's great. Also to serve as a resource for the organization. Maybe there's someone out there and you're having to do a speech, and maybe that makes you terribly nervous. Well, for me, it's the most natural thing in the world. And you might be trying to put together a presentation that you're going to do for the Kiwanis or the Rotary Club or any other number of service organizations. I'm there as a resource to be able to help you. If you're looking for a great story, if you're looking for some type of a concept, then I can be there. Then to help the organization always be a learning organization, because real power is never in the hands of the learned, it's in the hands of the people that are learning. So sometimes one of the roles that Todd will give me is I'll do book reviews. And these different book reviews will come out, and it gives an opportunity for me to be able to share what's a recent book, because I try to read at least one book a week. That's my That's my personal goal because, Kelly, I've never had an original thought in my life, ever. And so, being able to help people with that. Then sometimes Todd and I are doing a podcast.
Okay.
And we're talking about a particular, topic. It might be on how do you handle conflict? Okay. How do you create a vision statement? We've done a lot of different things through the years. And so I get to play that kind of a role. And the beauty is, the thing that makes your home so guaranteed, so unique, is that you guys are leveraging all kinds of platforms. Oh, yeah. You're social media savvy in your organization, just like doing an interview broadcast like this. You guys are using everything that's out there. And because you're doing that to help people to be able to build their business through the proprietary systems, there's also the add-on of what we can do from the human relationship side. And so whether it's helping people to understand how emotional intelligence works, if it's helping our people to be able to understand when I do DISC profile and I work with people on what does the DISC look like in the world of being a realtor, that's something I've been trained in. I'm also a certified coach in the John Maxwell organization. And so just being able to build up people, inspire them. And as your Chief Inspiration Officer, it's my joy to get to fill those roles for you.
Well, thank you about that. I've heard you talk about a concept. I've had this concept myself for years. It's never had a name for it, but you called it image rub.
Image rub.
What is image rub, and what's that all about? Why is it important?
Again, I stole that one as well, but I think he would be very happy, and that came from Truett Cathy. Okay. And Truett Cathy, the story is told that they were in a meeting one day and they were discussing some mundane parts of the business. Mm-hmm. And so it came up, and there was a group of them that were discussing who was going to be their catch-up provider. And someone, a younger person, I think, in the room said something about, does that really matter? Is that what we need to be spending our time on? And that's when Truett kind of snapped around and said, yes, it does make a difference. It makes a big difference. And he said, let me explain to you about image rub. He says, we've got a particular image here at Chick-fil-A that we've tried, to keep. And so we're very careful about who we rub up against. Mm-hmm. And we want to make sure that any company that we do business with is going to have that same idea, because you're going to rub off on the people that you do business with. Your cultures are either going to rub off on each other or they're going to clash with each other. Mm-hmm. So being wise about who you're choosing to do business with makes good business sense, and it makes even better sense when the general public is watching you to see what are the values that you espouse. Are you following those values? Are the people that you do business with, are they following those values? So Truett Cathy and Image Rub comes right from the man who's helped to produce now the third largest franchise business in the world.
Wow. I did want to ask you one question that's not on the list. I see a little plaque behind me from a friend of yours.
Yes, sir.
A guy. Can you tell me about this friend of yours and the influence he had on you?
Yes, sir. He had more influence on my life than any other individual, and that's Zig Ziglar. Zig was my hero. When I was a young man and I wasn't sure what to do with my life, I wasn't sure which way to turn. I'd had this faith experience and I was trying to get my life on course. Mm-hmm. And someone said, you need to read this book by this man named Zig Ziglar. And the book was called See You at the Top. And I sat down and read that book. I found out about how to set goals. And so one of the first things I did was I set a goal to be able to go to college, because I was in my early 20s. No one in my family had ever been to college. No one had ever certainly graduated from college. So I was the first one in that group of people to have that opportunity. Okay. And I took Zig's 7 steps and I, employed them religiously and put down that goal and was able to achieve it. And then many years later, I was quoting him in a sermon, preaching in a church in Dallas, Texas. And this gentleman walked up at the end and said, I like what you had to say about that Ziglar fella. And so I looked at this gentleman and I said, are you a Zig fan? And he said, well, I better be. I am Zig Ziglar. And I went, no way. Oh my gosh. I'd never seen him. I had only read him. And so I ran and got my wife. I said, stay here. I got to go get my wife. Got my wife, brought her over, and she told Zig, she said, Ike loves you. He quotes you all the time. And he said to me that day, he said, do you mind if I send a cassette of your speech this morning, your message, to a friend of mine? And he sent it to a man named Dexter Yeager, who was Crown Direct in Amway.
Okay.
And so I ended up becoming one of their faith speakers that they had in their network, and they used a lot of cassette tapes in those days. Now you just do podcasts and things of that nature.
I remember those days.
But back in those days, yeah. And so I became Zig's resource pastor, and by that, every Saturday morning, can you imagine every Saturday morning that Zig Ziglar would call you? It was sure a shocker to me. But Zig taught a Sunday school class at the First Baptist Church of Dallas, Texas. And he would call me and just say, put your pastor eyes on what I'm going to read you this morning, and give me any insights. And sometimes it might be to say, well, you know, Zig, that verse was set in this context, or to say geographically, let me tell you about what makes that verse so interesting right there. Sometimes it was to share an illustration with him. We were always shooting back and forth to each other because we were both voracious readers. You know, Zig always said that he would get up every morning and he would read his Bible, and then he would read his newspaper because he wanted to see what both sides were up to. And, you know, always with that keen sense of humor. But we would share a lot of things like that. And so we became research buddies. And then one day I had this amazing call from Zig. I thought he was coming into Atlanta and he just wanted me to pick him up at the airport because so I asked you for a favor. And I thought, pick him up at the airport. And of course, I was always thrilled to do that. And he said, and I said, absolutely. What do you need from me? And he said, I want us to do a book together. Wow. And he said, I want it to be like those Saturday mornings when he'd be calling me about a passage of Scripture. And we'd sit there and we'd talk about that verse or verses. And then he would do his Sunday school lesson out of that. And he said, I said, so you want us to do a daily devotional? He said, that's exactly what I want it to be. So Daily Insights with Zig Ziglar and Ike Reighard.
I think I have that book.
You can barely see my name on there, but if you're selling books, you definitely want Zig really big. The Ike can be in a lot smaller font, I promise
I have that
you.
book on my shelf somewhere.
Good. I hope that you do.
I've pulled it down a few times.
So many people tell me I start my day every day with your book. And you know, when I was writing those devotionals, I would sit and pray about, God, help me to know which day this one should be. Because I was envisioning downline, and so was Zig, that somebody's going to maybe have to make a crucial decision. They're at a moment in their life, and they pick up that devotional, and they tell somebody later, that morning, I picked up that book, and it was just written for me.
Exactly what I needed.
And that's, yes. And so that's what we wanted to be able to do. Okay. And Zig wrote one last book, and it was with his daughter. And it was about embracing the struggle. Zig had a really bad fall, and it triggered an onset of dementia. And Zig, being Zig, looked at me and said, you know what, Ike, and about the fall? And I said, no, tell me. He said, it made me forget every bad thing that ever happened to me. That's Zig Ziglar. That's awesome. My friend.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. One last thing.
Sure.
Very, very important. The work you do here at MUST Ministries is awesome. The stuff you guys have been doing, but you can't do it alone.
Oh, gosh, no.
What is the best way that people can help you and your mission here at MUST Ministries?
Of course, finances is always huge because we operate on margin. And when you're helping to take care of people in poverty, that's going to be a line that continues from now on. I know that because Jesus told me in the Bible, the poor you'll have with you always. And so we try to be his hands and feet in helping people and feeding people. We do 4 basic things at MUST. We shelter people, so we have a 72-bed homeless shelter. But every night, if you look globally at what we do at MUST, there's over 300 people that are under a roof somewhere. We also do permanent supportive housing. So that's why we have 300 people under a roof each night. And a significant number of those are children, which breaks our heart. Right now, we turn away 200 to 300 people a month, unique individuals, because there's no more room at the inn. And 65% of those are women and children.
Wow.
And we're seeing some much more multi-generational families. It'll not just be a mom and her kids, but it'll be a grandparent. Okay. And I think that's a lot of the baby boomers and others who might not have planned as well for the future. Yeah. And then their finances change. They're living longer than they thought. And there's just a lot of issues. But we do the shelter, we do food. Today, I cut the ribbon early this morning on the 36th food pantry in a school. It was here in Cobb County at Smitham Middle School. And altogether, those 36 pantries take care of 70-something schools altogether. Okay. And families can go there and get food. We also have the Loaves and Fishes Kitchen, which 80,000 hot meals were served out of this past year. We do a summer lunch program. 250,000 lunches were handed out to children this past year. So we help to clothe people. Then the last one, Kelly, is we help people to get jobs. And we helped over 600 people get jobs last year. It represented $11.4 million back into the economy. So people can help us by financially supporting us. People can help us by coming and volunteering. Last year, over 10,000 volunteers. Wow. That's why we're able to operate on a shoestring. And you know, I always tell people, Kelly, if you're supporting any charity, you need to check them out and do it through an independent third-party rating system. Charity Navigator would be my suggestion. They rate only up to 4 stars. That's their ranking level. And we've been a 4-star for them 9 out of the last 11 years, and I think 13 out of 15 years we've been at that level as well. Okay. And less than 20% of churches and organizations, can make it 4 years in a row. So, but they look at how you spend your money. Okay. And they use something called your 990s, like your W-2s, you know, when you're in business. And so the 990 tells you where all the money is spent. And we're very proud that, you know, Charity Navigator ranks us that high. But having those volunteers, having people give to it, having people pray for us and be an advocate for us is huge. And so those are just some of the ways. You can always go to mustministries.org. Okay. You can click on, you can see.
That website will be right down here somewhere.
Good. And so you can see right there how you can donate, and you can also see right there how to volunteer. Okay. Because we couldn't make it without our volunteers. There is no question about it. Volunteers are our heroes around here, and we've been blessed with some great ones. I just left a meeting right before I met with you, as you saw. That was our programs committee. Okay. A couple of those people in there were staff members who started out volunteering at MUST, including the chief financial officer. Oh, wow. He used to come and do laundry at night, and then he and a couple of other men from East Cobb, where he lived, they would come over and they would teach financial classes. Okay. They're the people staying in our homeless shelter. And then he went on to become the CFO of billion-dollar corporations, and he is retired, and he's still a really young guy. And so I asked him to help us while we're building a brand new homeless shelter. Another area that you can certainly give to, it's called Bill Hope a Home, and we're taking our old shelter, which is a repurposed church with 72 beds, and we're building something brand new from the ground up that'll take care of 130 people. And so, of course, raising the dollars for that, you know, is our challenge, but it's also the best opportunity that we can have. Yeah. You give people big dreams, people love to give to big dreams, and this is a big dream. Well,
it is. It's so awesome. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kelly, for having me on today. I appreciate it.
This is Kelly Newsome. This is Kelly TV with Dr. Ike Reighard. Thank you so much for watching. Join us next time.
All right.